Okay, good morning. Today's daf is daf Yud Zayin. We're going to finish the perek. We're going to start on daf Tes Zayin by the Mishnah. Zog the Mishnah, see it? Ma ben tam. Zog the Mishnah, ma ben tam lemud. What's the difference between, now we're not asking what's the difference between a tam and a mud. Everyone knows the difference. Tam is 3 times, and a mud is 4 times. So the difference, the Mishnah's question is, what's the difference between the chiyuv incurred by damage caused by a sheir that is considered a tam, and a sheir that's considered a mud? So the Mishnah says there's no difference. Ella, rather, shatam mishalim chatzin nezek migufit. So first of all, the owner of the animal which damages, which is classified as a tam, so the mazik has to pay from migufay. What does migufay mean? From the body of the animal. So let's say the animal is worth, let's say the damage was $100. So he can either pay $100. Now let's say he doesn't have $100. So what does he do? So he has to sell his animal. Now let's say his animal is only worth $35 and he caused a damage of $100. Doesn't matter. He only has to pay chatzi nezek and megufay from the goof of the behem. Now, his 35, yeah. Well, he has to pay a chatzi nezek. Chatzi nezek, let's say, would be 50. But since the animal is only worth 35, the nezek gets the short end of the deal.
Cyber trade, where he said sells, For that
you have dentatus. Okay. So first of all, the tam pays a chatzi nezek, that's migufay of the mazik's behemah, and also mu'id mishal nezek shalom and aliyah, and a behemah which is a mu'id, so the owner has to pay the full damage, and he has to pay min aliyah from the highest property. Okay, so the Gemara asks, my aliyah, what does it mean by saying he has to pay from the higher aliyah property? What does that mean? From the mazik's aliyah. So the Gemara says, it means that he has to pay from the superior quality of his nechosim, of his property. In other words, if the mazik only has to pay nezek chatzi nezek, so that comes migufoy. And as we said, that if let's say his goof of the behem is worth less than the chatzi nezek, tough on the nezek. By the case of the mu'id, he has to pay a nezek shalom, and it has to come from his property, from the choices of his property. Now, similarly, the fact that the word aliyah refers to, like we said, the superior quality, as the pasuk says. So if it says that Chizkiyahu laid with his ancestors, and they buried him in the best of the descendants of the Kvarim of Bnei David. So what do you see from here? You see that Ma'ala is like the best, the choices. Blazer says, B'ma'ala, what does it mean? In the pasuk that says, B'ma'ala, this refers to the best of the family. And who is the best of the family? By Chizkiyahu, this is David Shlomo. Now, the Gemara now offers another explanation of the pasuk about the fura of the king of Yehuda, which is king of Oso. Pasuk says, "Vayikru b'kvureso v'ashakaru le'beir David," and they buried him in his own burial plot, "Vayishkiveo b'mishka v'ashemile psamim l'zeinim," which he had hewn out for himself in the city of David, and laid him in the resting place, which was filled with perfumes and spices. That's what the pasuk says. It says about Yirmiyah Navi. It says about the pasuk about the Puras Malachim. So when Asa Melech Yehuda died, it says that they buried him Ashkar le'beir David v'yishkavu, and they buried him b'mishka asher midei psam luzein. So the Gemara asks, what does it mean? My psamim uznim. What does it mean? They buried him with perfumes and spices. So Blazer says zine Mishnah. This refers to the different types of perfumes. Now, so the first shot is zinezim is different types of spices that they buried him with a bunch of spices. Shmuel Nachmani says this is a type of perfumes that anyone who smells this will lead to zima. Now, the next part of the Gemara is Yirmiyah Navi davens for Hashem that he should punish the nation that refuses to listen to his nevuah, and he asks that there should be bad to the nation. Now, it says, Hikadu shuchal lafteni ufachim tonu laragli. So now the Gemara is going to cite another machlekes between Rabbi Elazar and Shmuel bar Nachmani. As we said, Yirmiyah requested of Hashem to punish those who don't listen to him. So he said, they have dug a pit to trap me, and they have set snares on my feet. What does that mean? Rabbi Elazar says, now in what way did they dig a pit to trap him? How do they trap Yirmiyah? So Rabbi Elazar says that they made they casted a suspicion upon him of having znus with a woman. They made a suspicion about him in being mizana with a married woman. So the Gemara says, granted, according to the one who says that they made a suspicion upon him engaging with a zayna. This is what the pasuk says, that the pasuk says, Hishucha amuka zayna. For a zayna is a deep pit. So it makes sense that they use the word pit as a metaphor for a zayna. According to the Mandam who says, and they accuse Yirmiyah of being with the Eish. My shukha, what is the word? Shukha means a pit. What type of pit is there? So the Gemara answers, due to the fact that she's a married woman, is she excluded from the category of a zayna? In other words, if a woman, even if a married woman commits adultery, she's termed as a zayna. So you could use the word shukha for a zayna. You can use a shukha for Eish Ish, which is bezana. It's the same thing. She doesn't do this for a living, but she's the term of a zayna. So why I asked like this? Granted, according to the one who says that they cast a suspicion upon him, would be chesed of the Yish. This is what the pasuk says. You, Hashem, know all their plans to kill me. In other words, by claiming that he had relations with a married woman, they implicated him a isser against alayla mabas, which is somebody who's mizana with the Yish gets nus. So now I can understand what the pasuk says. But according to the one who says that they suspected him of having relations with the zina, Mailam Mavas, what does it mean to kill me? There's no, if somebody is mizana with a zina, he doesn't get Mavas, he doesn't get a capital punishment. So my answer is Shlichel Be'er Tit, meaning they cast him in a pit of tit, cement, in order to kill him. Donish Rava. Rava says, "My diksiv." What does the pasuk mean by saying, "You muchshal mefonefa beis apcha asibahem"? What does it mean? Let them be made in stumble. Let them be made to stumble before him. Deal with them in the time of your anger. What does that mean? They should let them stumble before you and deal with them in the time of anger. So Amr Yirmiyah l'fnei Baruch Hu. So Yirmiyah said before Hashem, "He paid the master of the universe. Afilu b'shasha sha'isen tzedakah." Even at a time when they tried to perform acts of tzedakah, that they try to perform tzedakah, make them stumble by ensnaring them that they do so with people who are unworthy of tzedakah. Why? That they should not receive reward in them. Now, we said before concerning the pasuk of Chizkiah's burial. Now the Gemara is going to continue on the pasuk. Pasuk says, and they afforded him honor in his death. So the Gemara says, yeshiva al kibur. This teaches us that they established a yeshiva at the grave to study there. By the time of the grave of Chizkiah HaMelech. Ligi ba Rabbi Nosson and Rabbanan. Rabbi Nosson and the Chacham disagree to regards to this yeshiva. Chad Omer Shleisha. One says they studied there for 3 days. Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph. The Chad Omer Shiva, one says they studied there for 7 days. But Omer, as some say, Shleishim, they studied there for 30 days. We learned that a Brisa offers the interpretation of the pasuk. What does it mean? And they afforded him honor to his death. So the Gemara says, Chizkiah HaMelech Yehudah. This is, they gave honor to the king of Chizkiah HaMelech Yehudah. Sheyatzu lefanam shleishim v'shishim elef chalutzi kosim. Which means that at his burial, 36,000 men, bared shoulders, with bared shoulders, went out to him. In other words, they removed their robes from their shoulders as a sign of mourning. 36,000 people. Different Rabbi Yehuda. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. So they had 36,000 people, soldiers that removed like they're bared. Omar learned of Nechemia says, but then they also do this before Achav. If they did this by the Achav Arasha to show honor, the sign of kings, so it wasn't unique to show honor to Chizkiah HaTzadik. Ella, rather, rather, what was the honor for Chizkiah? And they laid a Torah scroll upon his mitah, and they said, Kiyam zeh ma'ashakasu bazeh. That Chizkiah fulfilled what's written in the Torah. The Gemara asks, but nowadays also we do so. We do this for any Talmud Chacham, a big Talmud Chacham who dies, he say, Kiyam zeh ma'ashakasu bazeh. So what's so unique about Chizkiah HaMelech? So the answer is Apuki Makminon. We take out a Torah scroll out, but Anuchel Makminon. Nowadays we take out a Sefer Torah, we don't lay it on the actual mitah. So by Chizkiah they actually laid it on the mitah. That's a real covet, exactly. And if you want to say Anuchel Makminon, nowadays also we lay a Sefer Torah on the bier of the deceased, but we don't say that he fulfilled what's written in the Torah. Back in the Gemara, Rabbi Bakana says, I was once walking together with Rabbi Yechlan to ask him about this statement. So, whenever he would enter in the bathroom, upon his exit, I would ask him to explain a matter. And he would not answer until he washed his hands and put on his tefillin and made the bracha. And then he would answer us. Now, with regards to the honor given to Chizkiah Melech Yehuda, he said, they made afilu kiyam amrinon. He says, nowadays we even say that this one fulfilled that which is written in the Torah, but we not say he taught that which is written in this, which was unique honor performed at the quota of Chizkiah, king of Melech Chizkiah. So basically, what Rabbi Yechlan says is we say kiyam, but we don't say the word of limud. So the Gemara asked Mar, but didn't you learn that Godol Talmud Torah at the study of Torah is so great? Shat Talmud may be the B'maisa, which we know that Talmud brings to performance. So it is mashma. The performance of a mitzvah is considered a greater value than Torah study. So if so, once Chizkiah had been praised with the fact that he fulfilled the mitzvah of Torah, right? Which we know, fulfilling a mitzvah is much greater. So why would you mention Bechlal that he studied Torah? So the answer is like conscious, not a question. The statement of Mar is about studying Torah for one's own knowledge, and the unique praise that they gave Chizkiah Melech Yehuda was about teaching to others. So teaching to others, that's a great praise. Now, a pasuk that was cited at the beginning of the Perek, if you remember, so we said, we brought this pasuk down. What is it written? It says, happy are you that sow beside all waters. Remember, this was in the base and base. We brought down the pasuk. Happy are those that sow beside all waters, and send forth the feet of the ox and the donkey. So the Gemara says, what does this pasuk refer to? Anybody who involves himself in learning Torah and performs acts of kindness, he merits the portion of two tribes. Who are the two tribes? This is Yosef and Yisachar. And the Gemara explains how we learn this. Shinamar, like the pasuk says, Ashneichem Zeirei. Happy are you that sow. The Ein Zriya, when we say after you are sow, this refers to tzedakah. This refers to acts of charity. Shinamar, as the pasuk says, Zidu lachem tzedakah v'kitzu lefi chasar. Sow for yourself your tzedakah, reap according to your kindness. The Ein Mayim Elateda. We know when it says Ashneichem Zeirei, it refers to the fortune of those who give tzedakah. And then we say, like it says, Zidu lachem tzedakah v'kitzu lefi chasar. The Ein Mayim Elateda. And so, Ashreichem Zaydeh, we say Zaydeh refers to tzedakah. Al Kol Mayim refers to Zaydeh. Shnemer, Says, "Oi, all those who are thirsty, go to water." Okay, so that's how we see that. Now, then the Gemara says, and the fact that he merits reward equal to the portion of 2 shvatim. So we see like this. He brought down an ox as an ox. A share always refers to Yosef. Yosef is referred to as an ox. Now, as one's reward is that he merits to receive like a tila, is a canopy of honor, as Yosef did. The Siddur, it says, Ben Peiras Yosef, Bonei Sada Ali Shor. Yosef is a fruitful vine. In other words, a fruitful vine by a fountain. His branches run over all the wall. The branches over the wall, this pasuk allude to a tila, referred to a canopy. The Zeichel Nachas Yisachar, a reference to the donkey, is the fact that he merits to receive the portion of Yisachar, the Sib, Yisachar Chamar Garam. It says about Yisachar, who was described as a donkey. Yisachar is a large donkey. Ista Amri, those who say that the comparison is understood differently. The pasuk says, "Oyavav neifum l'fanav ki Yosef." Oyavav Ista Amri, Oyavav neifum l'fanav ki Yosef. His enemies will fall before him, just like the bracha given by Moshe to the tribe of Yosef. The Chesiv, it says, "Bohem amim yiradach yachtav afsi aretz." As the pasuk says, it's written in the bracha bestowed by Moshe to the shvatim of Yosef. It says, first it says, his horns are the horns of the wild ox. With them he shall gore the nations, even to the ends of the earth. Bohem amim yiradach yachtav afsi aretz. The seichel abinik Yisachar, and he merits the understanding of Yisachar. The Siv, as the pasuk says, it says, and the children of Yisachar, men that had an understanding of the times, das mayas Yisrael, to know what to do to Yisrael. Okay, so we finished now Adon Allah Arba Ovis. We finished now the first paragraph of Arba Ovis, and now we're going to continue with the second paragraph of Kitzur Arago. Now, if you remember in the Mishnah Daf Tezayin, we brought down there are 5 types of mazikim that are mu'id, l'shalin, nezek, shalin. So we said, what's a mu'id, l'shalin, nezek, shalin? So shein, regel, right? Shein and regel are mu'id the first time. We said as well, keren, after it bores 3 times, it's considered a mu'id. We said a keren, even though keren usually is katzi nezek, if keren b'reshus hanizek, is, according to Rav Tarfon, is a moed and adam amazik, and a person also is a mazik. So we have 5 of them, right? Shein regel, keren after it gores 3 times, keren b'reshus hanizik according to Rav Tarfon, and adam amazik. These are the 5 tamid that the Mishnah mentioned we learned yesterday. Now in this parak we're going to explain the halachas of all the 5 of the moedim. And now the Mishnah is going to start with the halacha of regel. Now, all the Rishonim, they ask, why is the Mishnah starting with the halachas of regel and not shein, which is the first of the 5 muadim? So Taisus answers and says that shein and regel are really considered like one, because they have the same halachas. Even though we learn it from different psukim, one learns v'shilachas v'yira beer b'stei acher, and we said v'shilachas regel beer is shein. So when we ask Ketzad and Regel, it's really Regel and Shein is really the same idea. Okay, so now the Mishnah asks, Ketzad HaRegel Mu'edes. What damage caused with the regels, the hoof of the animal? What is, when we say Regel of the animal, it's Mu'edes, what is that referred to? So the Mishnah says, Lishber b'derech hilucha, it's deemed a mu'ed with regards to when it tramples, to trampling objects and breaking it in the course of walking. So if an animal is just walking regularly and now it tramples objects and breaks them in the course of its walking, so that is considered a mu'ed. Now, an animal is deemed a mu'ed with regards to walking in a typical manner, by doing so, breaking objects as it goes. So that's considered a mu'ed. Okay, now the Mishnah continues and says, the Mishnah is going to mention two ways that if the behemoth damages with his feet, nevertheless, the owner of the animal, what owner of the animal who made the damage only has to pay chatzi nezek. So the Mishnah says, if the animal was kicking while it was walking, or let's say pebbles were like being propelled from under his feet, and then the shavras hakelim. So first he was kicking if the animal was kicking while it was walking, or pebbles were propelled from under his feet, and those pebbles now broke vessels. So in that case, the halacha is, and Shams again l'shalom chatzi nezek. So the owner rightly only has to pay a chatzi nezek. Now, now, if an animal, let's say, was trotting upon a keli and it broke it, and then a shard of that keli fell upon a second keli and broke it. So, so the halacha is, so the owner pays the full cost of the damage for the first keli, because its action is basically under, this is mamish and of trampling. And and he pays half the cost of the damage for the later keli. Why? Because the damage caused by the shard was really mamish inadvertently propelled by the animal, so only pays the chatzi nezek. Now, Mishnah says, Hatar negoylin wad l'halaf kedakim l'shaber. Chickens are deemed amuid with regards to walking in the typical manner and breaking objects. So therefore, the owner of the chicken pays a nezek shalom for the damage done by any objects broken by his chicken. If there was a string tied to the chicken's leg. So what do we see? That the owner wrapped it around. It's an indication of the ownership, and it wrapped around the keli, and then he broke it. So more the chicken was hopping and breaking vessels, so Allah is mashali nezek, chatzi nezek. He only has to pay a chatzi nezek. So just to recap, so we said in the previous Mishnah, you said that regel and shein are mu'adim l'chatchila. They don't have to be forewarned 4 times. So in what category is a regel considered mu'ad l'chatchila? So we said if he is damaging the derech chilucha while it's walking, so if it's walking regularly and now it starts breaking things while it's walking, while it's casually walking, so that the thing that it breaks, we say it's a mu'ad. Now, if let's say it was kicking, or let's say while it was walking, it starts pebbles start being propelled from underneath him, and those pebbles now broke another keli, so then it's inadvertently, that's not considered that's not a mu'ad, so he's paying chatzi nezek. If let's say it was trampling on, what?
Goes under the category here, which is why it's chatzi nezek.
By where?
What you were saying, that it's just casual walk you.
Right, exactly. So Karen, this goes on the Karen of Karen, which is a chatzi nezek, right? Right, we said regel shein is always a mu'ad leilam, yeah. In a chanami. Now, if it was kicking while it was walking, or let's say pebbles were being propelled from under his feet, and now those pebbles broke the vessels, so then he pays a chatzi nezek. Now, if, let's say, the animal stepped on the keli and broke the keli, and that keli then broke another keli, so the first one has to pay, who broke the first keli has to pay nezek shalom. And he pays only half of the damage, as the damage caused by the shard was also inadvertent. Then we said about Tarnagolim, on when they go to Darkin l'Shaber, if, let's say, there was if the Tarnagolim, let's say, had a dlil, which is like a string or a chayfetz, which was tied on to the Tarnagol, and now this Tarnagol threw the chayfetz on the kalim and broke it, or let's say the Tarnagol allows, we said, let's say it was like dancing, and through that, a pebble came and broke the kelim, so the owner of the Tana Geros only has to pay a half an esek, because he didn't pay it, he didn't damage it with the gufay, it only came from his koyach. Okay, so the Gemara, Amalei Ravina Lenova. So now the Gemara wants to analyze the Mishnah. So Amalei Ravina Lenova. Ravina says to Rabbi, why does the Mishnah have to say, if you look, it says, Haregel Moedas, the Shaber, the Derech, Yelucha. You just said, Habehebe Moedas, La'alech Kedarkei, or the Shaber. So it's one here. Why does the Mishnah have to say again, Haregel Moedas, the Shaber, the Derech, Yelucha? Right? You said, Keter Haregel Moedas, the Shaber, the Derech, Yelucha. Why does the Mishnah have to say, Haregel Moedas, the Shaber, the Derech, Yelucha, and then say, Habehebe Moedas, La'alech Kedarkei, or the Shaber? Here it's the same thing. So Amarlei, so he said, Amarlei, Rabbi said to him, Tana Aves. First the Tana teaches the Aves, which is, we said, the Iker Chiyuv of Regel, which is one of the Aves Nizikin, and then he teaches me the Tolda of Regel. Right? Regel Moedas the Shaber Derech Yelucha, that's the main din of Regel. And then the Hemshech L'Mishnah Abahem Moedas La'alef Derech L'Shaber, that's a Tolda of Regel. So the Gemara asks, Elama'ato, but if that's really true, save the Tani, if you look at the end of the Mishnah, the later class of the Mishnah, Nafites, it teaches, it says concerning the of Shein, it says, Hashein Moedes, it says eating is the, Hashein is a Moed, and a Behema Moedes. And a Behema is a Moed. So the question is, my Alves and my Tildazika, what Alves and what Tildazika either? There's no subcategories of eating that are enumerated there, and nevertheless, we use the phrase. So Rabbi answers, "Have a kamahadalei b'b'tchosa." So Rabbi responded with like a joke, and he said, and he said to him, "Ano shana chado." I resolved this difficulty in one Mishnah. Ba'at shani chada. You resolved the difficulty with another Mishnah. The time in mind. What's the reason for the parent redundancy with eating, with regards to eating? So Rashi says, Tana Shein dechaya. First Tana taught the halacha of eating by a chaya, undomesticated animal. Tana Shein de b'meima. And then he teaches the halacha of Shein by a domesticated animal. Now, so that it was necessary to say both. Why? Because you would think the shidduch has been eksiv says, and he set his animal loose. The heimain, I would say this is regards to a domesticated animal. Yeah, the av of eating applies there. But chaya, but with regards to, let's say, an undomesticated animal, like, it does not apply. There's no av of eating. There's no shein of eating. The shein of av doesn't apply by a chaya. Therefore, the Tana teaches us that the chaya b'fal behema, that an undomesticated animal are included in the categories of a behema. Now, in this regards, the owner of the undomesticated animal is chaya for damage caused by his animal eating another person's produce. So the Gemara says, if so, the Tana should have taught this halacha with regards to domesticated animals first, and only afterwards teach the halacha with regards to the undomesticated animal, as is included in the later part. So the Gemara answers, midrasha. On the contrary, this halacha, which is derived from an interpretation, therefore the Tana preferred to begin with the halacha that we derive, and they'll only proceed with the halacha which is explicit. So Gemara said, if that's really so, Reishanami, listening, if so, Reishanami. If so, with regards to the first case, listening, I eat like Sivi. If so, in the first Mishnah too, let the Tana teach, which is not something which is not explicitly written first, as that which is derived from his interpretation, is there to him. He just said, so where it says, how do you compare the two? Awesome, obviously there, with regards to, let's say, eating this damage caused by the animal and the damage caused by both the chai and the behema are considered obvious. So, therefore the Tana first taught the halacha, which is derived from his interpretation, is there to him. And also, but here, with regards to the trampling, Shavig Ab, the Tana Tolda, would he leave aside an Ab and then teach a Tolda?
He's a rat. So put. He is again on Fadi. Okay.
Or I can tell you like this. I can tell you like this. And the reason that in the Mishnah the Tana begins, that which is written explicitly in the Torah, and then only teaches us, which is derived from, let's say, different limudim, is ID the solid meregel. Since the Tana concluded the discussion, as we said before in Daf Tesvav, with the Av of regel, Pasach meregel. So therefore, he teaches about regel. Okay, Tana Abba, we learned in a brayse. An animal is considered a mu'ur with regards to walking in its typical manner, and while doing so, breaking objects in the course of its walking. Okay, to how so? If an animal entered into the courtyard of the nizik, or the injured party, so the animal entered in the courtyard of the nizik and damaged an object with his body in the course of walking, or caused damage with its ear in the course of his walking, or with, let's say, the saddle on it, or with a packed saddlebag, shalif on it, or let's say with the halter in its mouth, or let's say with the bell around his neck, let's say with a donkey that caused with its burden. So the halach is, in all these cases, if he comes into the rishus of the nizik, as we said a few times, Mishal Nezik Shalom, he has to pay a Nezik Shalom. Sulchas Omar, Sulchas says, in the case pebbles that propelled by the animal in the course of the walking, or in the case of a pig that was in the garbage heap that caused damage, the halach is Mishal Nezik Shalom, he has to pay a Nezik Shalom. As Mara asked, if the chazer caused the damage, then obviously the owner has to pay a Mishal Nezik Shalom. What's the chiddush of Sumchis? So my answer is hitis v'hizing. If it propelled pebbles and thereby caused damage, then Mishalim Nezek Shalom. So he has to pay Nezek Shalom. So the Gemara asks, "Sir, is my dechashmayu? Who mentioned anything about pebbles?" So the Gemara answers like this: Chasuri mechsura v'aknitani. The price is incomplete, and this is what is teaching. Sreira is kirachayu for damage caused by pebbles that were propelled by animals walking in a typical manner. So the halach is chatzi nezek. The owner pays a half the damage. And for damage caused by a chazer that was in a garbage heap and it propelled pebbles, and hitis v'hizik, and then that damage, an object, and the owner pays and it caused damage. The halach is mishan chatzi nezek. He has to pay a chatzi nezek. Sumchas Omer, Sumchas says that that in the case of pebbles and Chazir Sherinever Ba'ashmi, in those two cases, this Mishal and Nezek showing. In other words, Sumchas does not rely upon the halacha that the owner pays half the damage that was caused by the pebbles, which was done inadvertently. He holds that since the damage results from the animal's typical behavior of walking, the owner has to pay now a full damage from Mishal Nezek showing. We learn if chickens were flying from place to place, so chickens that were flying from place to place and broke vessels with their wings. So what's the din? The owner pays full cost of the damage. Why? Because this is a tulga of trampling. Now, beruach bekamfeim, if the damage was caused by wind generated by their wings, so it wasn't direct cause, it was like indirect cause. So the owner has to pay now half the damage. Sumchas Amar, Sumchas says, Nezek Shon. He pays a Nezek Shon. Tani dog, saw another brayse, Tanagel Shoyim Mahats, and Agabe Yisrael, Agabe Peiros. If chickens were hopping upon, let's say dough, or upon Peiros, and they made it dirty, or nikru, or they pecked and it caused damage at the fruit, the shalom nezek shalom, they have to pay nezek shalom. Handle upright service, if in the course of their hopping they stirred up dust, or let's say they propelled pebbles, so the halach is mishalom nechat nezek, sulchas eimer nezek shalom. Tani yidach was telling another brayse, tarnagel shayim afriach mimakim l'mafim. A chicken was flying from place to place. The yatzar ruach mitachas knafa b'shivras hakelim, and wind emerged from beneath its wings, and the wind caused vessels to break. The shalom chatzi nezek, the owner pays half a nezek. So the Gemara says, Stamon, this Bryce, which has no name, Kinabanan is according with the opinion of the Chachamim, who disagree with simplest and hold that the owner pays the Chatzi Nezek, the damage in these cases, just as he does in the case of the slave that is propelled from the under the seat of the animal. Omar Rava says, Bishlema Sumches, granted of the opinion of Sumches is understood. Because he holds that the status of the damage resulting is from a force generated by the animal's action is like that of damage directly caused by the animal itself, and therefore the owner pays nezek shalem for the damage of both cases. But according to the Chachamim, if they hold that the status of damage resulting from a force generated by an animal's action is like the damage directly caused by an animal itself, so kulei nezek by the shalem, the owner should be required to pay the full cost of the damage. Now, be left to go for dummy, and if he holds that the status of damage resulting from a force generated by the animal's action is not like the damage directly caused by the animal himself, so chatzi nezek not the shaloms, then he should not even have to pay a half the damage. So where other Marava then it says like this: really, the Chacham hold the status of damage resulting from a force generated by the animal's action is like of a damage directly by the animal itself. And in Ba'emes, the owner should be required to pay nezek shalom. The chatzi nezek tzreiris, and the liability to pay for half of the damage caused by tzreiris is because merely because the halacha measure b'sinei, and it doesn't correspond to the standard halacha of damage. Okay, Amar Rava says, Kolel shebezav tamei, kol shebezav tamei. With regards to any type of action, which when a zav, as you know, interacts with a keli in that manner, and he renders that keli tamei, if the same type of action was done by an animal, resulting in a damage, so the owner of the animal is required to pay the full cost of the damage. Bidin is zakin. With regards to any type of action, when a zav interacts with the keli in that manner, and he leaves it tar, let's say where he contacts it indirectly, if the same type of action was done by an animal, as a zav will touch that to make it tummy, so if the animal does that, the owner has to pay only a half of them. So the Gemara asks, where Rabbi and Rabbi, did he come to teach the halacha of pebbles? In other words, Rabbi's statement is that for damage caused indirectly and by indirect action of an animal, so the owner has to pay half of the damage. This is identical to the halacha of pebbles that the Brisa says. So the Gemara says, like, Rabbi teaches the halacha the case of a calf pulling a cart. So just as with regards to a zav, the status of the keli that a zav moves is like that of a keli with which they come into contact. So too, the status of damage caused by the cart pulled by the animal is like that of damage caused by the animal's body, and is not considered an indirect damage like in the case of tzerinus. An animal is deemed a mu'ed with regards to breaking objects in the course he was walking. Case of household. The animal entered into the courtyard of the nizik, and now it damaged an object with its body in the course of walking, or beside their chalufa with its ear, or we said with its saddle, or b'shliv shalal, or with the saddle pack, or with the halter, or let's say with its the zug, or let's say if a donkey caused with its burden, the egel or a calf caused damage while pulling a cart, so the halakha is mishalim nezek shalom. In case the chickens were pecking at the rope, tied into a bucket, and the rope was severed and the bucket fell and broke it, mishalim nezek shalom is to pay nezek shalom. Well, you know, Rav asked the Shaila, if an animal, let's say, was trotting upon a vessel, but it didn't break it. And then, and that keli then rolled to another place and broke there. So, halacha is my, what's the halacha? Rav says this. When we look at the liability for causing damage, do we follow the initial action that ultimately led to the damage, and this case is regarded as damage caused by the animal itself, and Basar Mikaras Linim Gufayu, accordingly the owner would pay the full cost of the damage as would be classified as the ava of trampling. Or do I say Dilma Basar Tvar Manazlin? Or perhaps do we follow the breaking of the keli, and therefore this case is regarding a similar case of pebbles, which we said is propelled by the foot of the animal and its course of its walking. So since the keli was not broken by direct action of the animal, but it was like an indirect result of the animal's action, so maybe the same case over here with Darsar Kli, the Kli didn't break, but then it rolled over and then it broke. So do I say it started from the Drisa, or do I say just like? Or do I say no? Or do I say just like the case of when the animal is trampling and the pebble shoots out and breaks something, which is indirect damage, maybe it has the same category as well? Mar says, Tiv Shalem and Rabba, you can resolve this from the statement of Rabba. Rabba says, Zara Kli Manesh Hagag. If one threw a keli from a roof, and a ba'achor shvar b'mapil, let's say a person threw a keli from the roof. Another came and broke it with a stick as was falling. A guy takes his cane and he whacks, like baseball. It's falling. So the halacha is potter. The one who hit it with a stick is potter from liability. As we say to him, minot tzvirat tzevat. He's exempt from liability. As we say to him that he broke a broken vessel. In other words, from the moment the keli was tossed from the roof, it was going to break. So breaking it with a stick as it was falling didn't really affect anything. So what do we see? We see the initial reaction is the decisive factor determining the liability of damage. So the same should apply in the case where the animal was trotting by the animal, but it didn't break, and then the keli then rolled to another place and broke there. So the hezek, we should look at it. It should be determined based on the initial reaction that caused the damage, just like the case of the Zarek Limanesh Hagad. So the answers the Rabbi of Shita, not the Rabbi who ruled this. It's obvious. The Rabbi be but the Shaila is the Rabbi. In other words, one cannot prove his opinion of one Amar for the opinion of another. Okay, last thing. Tashma, we learned in a Bryce. Hidus, with regards to hopping, ain't a mood. The chicken is not deemed as a mood. Other people say, how does it mood? So much. Hidus something like that. Do you really think that the possibility that chicken is not a mood with regards to Hidus with hopping? Hopping is a typical manner chickens move. A lot of hidus v'hitos. Rather, it's a case, the Bryce is a case where the chicken was hopping, and the hopping then propelled the keli to roll to another place, and that keli broke. On the over here, this is what they're arguing. One holds that we follow the initial action that ultimately led to the damage, and since hopping is a typical manner of the movement of the chicken, the owner is higher for any damage that resulting in the hopping. And Mar Savar, and the other one holds no. Basar Tvar Minaz Linan. We follow the breaking of the keli, and since there was an additional factor that broke the keli, the owner of the chicken is not chayiv. So the Mar says, like, that's not the machlekes. So to explain it like this. The heatiest days, the machlekes is in regards to chicken propelled pebbles from underfoot. As it was hopping, they're arguing with regard to machlekes of sumkas and chachamim, which we said before. One Tana holds that the owner pays nezek shalem for pebbles propelled by an animal in the course of walking, and the other Tana holds that its owner pays only a chatzi nezek. Okay, we'll stop in.
That's right.